recording this, and
Yes.
I didn't push it
Sure you
when we
pressed
first
that button.
started. But I believe it's recording now.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
it is. So we've just been acknowledging people, and we're ready to get this show on the road.
Great.
Okay, so thank you so much for attending today. We are going to be talking about the Power of Me Yoga Calm for Tween Girls, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Katie in just a minute. But before we get started, I want to remind you that for the next 60 minutes, there's going to be so much great information. You're actually going to get to experience some of the activities that Katie does with her students in this webinar, and we are inviting tweens into the room, actually any kid or teen into the room when we do those activities. So you may want to find a place where you can settle in and be present, but you might want to have them close by for that activity portion of the webinar in case they want to experience the breathing and the activities with Katie. If you have any questions during the webinar, go ahead and write them in the Q&A box. And the Q&A box is going to be on that black strip, and it just says Q&A. When you type your question in there, nobody can see it except for us, and we'll be answering all questions at the end of this webinar. So also, if, like I've mentioned, if you have a comment, this is not just a webinar where we're talking. We're going to ask you some questions. You'll be answering. You'll be sharing some of your expertise with us as well. So go ahead and get familiar with the chat box. It simply just says chat on it. And make sure that when you're chatting it up with everyone that you actually click everyone versus panelist, because if you just chat with the panelists, that's us right now, we're the only ones who can see it. So make sure when you're chatting that everyone can see it, so just click everyone. And then if you'd like to move around the box, there's a box with our pictures in it. I'm actually moving mine up right now. You're free to move that around. There's a black strip on top of the two pictures of us, and you can kind of play around with the settings. But if it looks good right now, maybe you just want to leave it there. But if you feel a little bold, you can, try it out with making the view just on one person rather than two, or making it smaller or making it bigger. And then the next thing is we want to have some scratch paper available because, like I said, Katie's going to be doing some activities, and there's a portion in there where you'll be doing some writing. So go ahead and find a piece of scratch paper, get in that cozy place, and then at the very end of this presentation, we have exclusive offers. So we're going to be providing many different bonuses to you, and you'll find out about those bonuses at the end of this presentation and in the email that we send with the live webinar. You'll have access to the replay. So there's a lot of cool stuff today. So, and yes, I did press record, so we are good to go. All right, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Lindsay. I used to be a 4th grade teacher. Then I moved on to school counseling at the elementary and middle school level. And in 2014, I left public education to do this full time. I'm a yoga calm trainer, and I founded Generation Wellness. And my passion is really helping educators and students succeed in both school and life. And also, I just recently created a video course for anyone interested in starting their own business. We're calling it the Wellness Warriors Business Startup, and I'll be sending more of that to you if you're interested. But the star of the show today is Katie Thune, and I'm going to let Katie introduce herself.
Yeah. So I was a classroom teacher in St. Paul, Minnesota for about 12 years in special education and health. Most of my years were in middle school. Right now I'm the owner of Mad Hatter Wellness. I've created, one of the programs I've created is the Power of Me, which we'll be talking a lot about today. I've also done a lot of curriculum writing for different nonprofits, specifically for people with disabilities on relationships and sexuality education. I'm a yoga calm instructor, and I've used yoga calm in all kinds of settings in the classroom when I was teaching after school programs, all the classes that I teach. I bring in some yoga calm into there. So
awesome. Well, thanks for being here today, Katie.
Yeah.
I know you're in Arizona right now, right?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Okay, so our agenda for today is we're going to go over the Power of Me workshops. Hopefully you were able to see that video that was sent in the email. It was just a 2-minute video, just a little bit of background of what the Power of Me workshops are all about, but Katie's going to give you some additional information. If you didn't get a chance to watch the video, no worries. We're going to show it at the very end. And then once we're done talking about the Power of Me, we're going to get right into some activities. So I think there's 4 different activities that Katie's going to walk us through. And then we'll go over some tips for teaching and parenting tweens and some tips for facilitating groups and workshops. Then we'll go into that Q&A, the bonuses, and then we'll do a closing. So I love this quote. It says, "Don't call me a teenager. From now on, I want to be referred to as a pre-adult."
Yep. So there's some parents in here or teachers or anyone that works with kids. Doesn't that sound familiar? Oh, man. So let's get going on the Power of Me. So the Power of Me is a program that I created for girls in grades 4 through 8. So that typical starting puberty time. And the program includes workshops and yoga classes, retreats, all about empowering and building up a girl's inner spirit and their confidence. So our workshops and retreats are a safe space for the girls to talk about their feelings in a community of same-age peers. And our program includes education on the different workshop topics, which we'll talk about later, fitness and mindfulness, and of course, yoga calm. We also offer mother-daughter retreats, which I love, a way for the mothers and daughters to get connected. And we include yoga. We talk about we have a workshop on what's going on in the brain during this crazy time of puberty. And then the mothers and daughters will practice emotional communication together. And now we've just recently expanded our Power of Me program to work with boys, as well as adults with disabilities. So
awesome.
Yeah. But the reason I started Power of Me for girls at this age is there's so many changes going on for girls during puberty in the body and the brain. And it's crazy. It can be a scary time for them. It can be alarming, not really knowing what's going on. Why am I feeling this way? It's crazy. I have all these conflicting feelings at the same time. It's like a roller coaster of emotions, and their confidence drops, changes in mood all over the place, and friendships and bullying. It starts to come out a little bit more for girls at this age. So I thought we just need a little bit more for them right now. So this is a list of workshop topics that we use in the Power of Me, and others. A lot of the work I do, I connect with the school or a program or a church or whoever on what they're struggling with right now, the girls that they work with. What do we need to focus on? In the body image workshop, we talk about body image and self-image, kind of the difference between the two and how they change as we get older. And when we talk about improving body image, we talk a lot about using that positive self-talk. With peer pressure and bullying, peer pressure starts to happen a lot more for girls at this age. And we talk, but sometimes it's hard for them to recognize it. So we talk about how to recognize if friends are pressuring you to do things that you really don't want to do. Puberty, total favorite, love it. It's the best. Like I said before, we use the book, the American Girl book, The Care and Keeping of You, for the workshop. It's really funny. My just a little side note, my little 8-year-old, she decided to come home one day and she's like, "Yeah, Mom, I think I got my period today." And so I was like, "What?" She knows I teach these workshops, but she's not quite old enough yet. And I was like, "Oh, really? Well," and she's super petite. I'm like, usually a girl will start to grow hair under their armpits before, you get your period. And she goes, "Well, can I at least have the book?" So all she wanted was the book. She knew on the back of the book it said ages 8+. So she got the book right away. It's a great book for girls. They love it. So I thought that was pretty funny. Most of the questions during the puberty workshop, of course, are around periods. I think it's a scary thing. Everyone's unsure and no one really wants to talk about it. But I might get questions as simple as, do I have to shave my armpits? Or what are hormones? Or how do I find the right bra? I love it. It's so much fun. Healthy relationships, we're gonna do a little bit of work with that one. So I'll talk more about that later. For self-defense, I bring in an expert for self-defense. And the gal that I bring in, Lisa Van On, is amazing. She teaches the girls self-defense through self-love, and that it all starts with us. And I think that's pretty awesome. Stress management, feelings and emotions, just like how do we explore what's going on? How do we express our emotions in a healthy way without hurting ourselves and hurting other people? And then tons more. So, yeah.
Wow. Sounds like a lot, Katie.
Yeah. It's great. I love it.
How long have you been doing this now? Because this would take a lot to start all of this up.
I mean, I think I started using some of this when I was teaching in the middle school, but it was, always done outside of school or before, after, things like that.
Yeah.
So I started the Power of Me. Let's see. This is year 3 now that it's going on. Officially Power of Me.
Right.
But I've been teaching these lessons as a health educator for a really long time.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Yeah. So when we do a typical Power of Me workshop, this is what we include. We start with centering and yoga calm. So important to just move the body. They know we're going to be talking about things that make them uncomfortable. So we need to talk about it. We need to get our bodies and our brains ready for the learning. I like to include mindful snack because we need to think about what we're eating and where our food comes from. We will do the learning on the workshop topic, the instruction of whatever that workshop is, and always ending with a final relaxation. Nice, long relaxation, lying on yoga mats with blankets, getting cozy and comfy, lavender, eye pillows, things like that. Always using the calm, active calm, the yoga calm method. I love it. We start calm, we get active, move our bodies, and then calm ourselves again. So, yeah, so we're gonna, let's do this. We're gonna experience a little workshop. So why don't you call in your tweens or kids or teenagers, anyone around, little ones, big ones, whatever.
Yeah, and while you're getting your people to come and join us, we just thought we'd pose a question to you all, because we've been talking a lot about, well, in the beginning, puberty and even like our bra size, and there's all these different topics. Who taught you about this stuff when you were growing up? Was it something that was never talked about? Did you learn about your bra size from being fitted at Victoria's Secret? Did you read about it? Did you search the internet? How did you learn about some of the topics that the Power of Me covers when you were growing up? So we'll just see the responses coming into the chat box in just a minute. In the meantime, you can go ahead and grab whoever you'd like to join this special workshop, a mini workshop, a few different activities.
And let's see, scratch paper nearby too.
Yes. So let's see if we have any answers in the chat box for some. Oh, there we go. So I see nobody talked about it. And I think one person says nobody talked about it. And I think this is pretty typical. Would you say, Katie, that a lot of people, a lot of families, it's not like a discussion at the dinner tables. No. It's just not talked about.
Yeah. My dad was a health teacher and we still didn't talk about it. He taught all of my friends, but in the classroom, but no one ever talked about it with me.
Yes.
So teen magazines I'm seeing, and honestly, I think some of that is happening right now too. Mom mostly, dad is OBGYN, so I kind of grew up around bodily changes, which I would have learned more about peer pressure relationships. Yeah.
I see my aunt. Yep. My older sister. I found a little booklet and I don't know where I found it. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and now that the internet is kind of the main way that our teens are getting their information, I would say internet or friends, a lot of them are just searching the internet, talking about it in chat rooms with other teens, I would say. social media, but they're not getting the solid information that I know you provide in the workshops. And that's why I'm really excited to experience this mini workshop.
And we do a lot of talk around cyber safety because I don't know what they're finding online or what they're accidentally encountering. So yeah, but I think that is where a lot of people are finding stuff right now.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And someone says from friends, sex ed in schools, friends. My mom talked to me also, but it was awkward. Yeah. It oftentimes is.
Well, right. And I think that is, it still is awkward. And, you know, my hope with a lot of this is, and we can talk more about that with tips later, but that when the girls come to these workshops, when they leave, they've started the conversation. So then maybe they can talk to their parents about it later.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Splitting up the girls and boys. Yep. To talk about the changes. Yeah.
I remember that in 5th grade. All the boys went to one room.
Yeah. And then talking to us about sex, STDs, contraceptives. I do think that is something with health classes. Even now we're talking about all that stuff, right? Like what is sexual intercourse? How do you protect from pregnancy and STIs and things like that? But what about like my body belongs to me, and what is a healthy friendship? I don't understand what that means. And what do I do when my brain is going crazy during puberty? I mean, that's the stuff we don't talk about in health class.
Right.
So
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully you've had some time to get your people. We're going to go ahead and get started with this mini workshop with Katie. I know you're going to pretend like we're your students. Is that right? Yep. Okay.
Yep. It's going to be great. All right. So let's get started. Go ahead and ground your feet in. Feeling your seat in the chair, sitting up tall, roll your shoulders back. And I'm going to play the chime. I want you to hold your body still the whole time you can hear this chime. Maybe you want to turn your gaze down or close your eyes. And let's keep those calm, peaceful feelings and take a few breaths together, breathing in and out. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more. One more. All right, and just to move our bodies a little bit, getting our spine and our brains, everything ready, let's twist. So taking your arm across, taking one hand behind you, and see if you can look all the way behind you. And then coming through the center, twisting to the other side, twisting all the way from the tail, up the spine, to your head. And then coming back to the center. And take a deep breath in. Sigh it out. All right. So we are going to talk about relationships today. So in your chat box right now, real quick, when I say the word relationship, what do you think about? What first comes to your mind when you hear that word, relationship? Romantic, connection, friends, connection to others, boyfriend, girlfriend, friends, partners, communication, someone you care about, fantastic. So a relationship is a connection between 2 or more people. We have so many different relationships in our lives. Relationships with parents, teachers, siblings, classmates, neighbors, doctors, male people, so many relationships. So what I want us to do right now is we're going to think about the different relationships that we have in our lives and the type of support that we receive from those people. So we're going to look at the community circle right now. So we're going to go to the next slide. And I want you to draw this circle or several circles on your scratch paper. And right in the center, right in that bullseye, I want you to put yourself. You can write me or your name or your initials or a little smiley face. So you are there. This is your community circle, not anyone else's. So the circle that's closest to the center, these are the people that we are closest to, probably people that we give hugs to. These people might be a mom, a dad, a brother or sister, maybe a best friend. There's not a lot of room in this circle, so we're not going to put too many names in this circle. So writing down a few names here. And now the next circle out, that middle one, this is a circle that has people that are still our supports, but they're not in the inner circle. So examples here might be a favorite teacher, probably not all teachers, but a favorite teacher or two, maybe a coach that you're close to, good friends could go in here, other relatives. So bigger supports, but they're not in that inner circle. There's a little bit more room in this circle. So we have a few more people than in that inner one. All right, and now that furthest circle out, the biggest circle, probably has the most names. This circle has people that support us, but they're not in those inner two circles. So these people might be classmates, teammates, other teachers and coaches. I might even be a person that you would put in this circle. You might not know me that well, or you might. Either way, I am one of your supports. So wow, look at that. Look at all those names that we wrote in those circles, in our community circle. There's a lot of people that support us. Isn't it great to know that we don't have to do everything on our own? Life, I mean, sometimes we feel like we're all alone and that we have to figure everything out by ourselves. But we have so many people out there supporting us, which is pretty cool. So let's think about these people in our lives. Thinking about all these supports. Sometimes relationships are healthy and sometimes relationships are unhealthy. And what I've noticed is that sometimes it's difficult to notice or difficult to tell if a relationship is healthy or unhealthy. So we're gonna think about that right now. Healthy relationships are fun and they make us feel good about ourselves. And these relationships, healthy relationships, can be anyone in your life, family members, friends, classmates, neighbors. Unhealthy relationships are not fun. And they might even make us feel bad about ourselves sometimes. Unhealthy relationships can also be with anyone in your life. Family members, friends, classmates, neighbors. What I want you to do right now is to think of someone in your life that makes you feel really happy and safe. So we're going to use this chat box again. So thinking about that person that makes you feel happy and safe, what is one quality that you want from that person in your life? One quality from someone who makes you feel happy and safe. Unconditional love, trust, honesty, really listens to me, yes. Acceptance, humor, awesome. So let's see, Linz, we're gonna go to the next one.
Yeah, I see present as well.
So here we go. All these, you saw presence. Yes, totally.
Yes,
I want that person to be there for me, making time for me. So all of those are behaviors of a healthy relationship. So you can see on this chart in front of you, on this slide, why don't you flip over your community circle and make this chart right now? You can write some of those words in there for healthy behaviors of a healthy relationship. Sometimes I think I would put in there Well, is there anything else? Maybe write some more in the chat box if you can think of anything else. I'm thinking like compromise, taking turns, giving compliments, saying kind things. That's something that I really think is healthy in a relationship. Just feeling happy when I'm with that person, feeling safe when I'm with that person.
Yeah, and I think open communication. I think communication is really important.
Yeah. Great. What about the other side? What about unhealthy? Share with us in the chat box. What are unhealthy behaviors in a relationship? Criticism, judgmental, totally judgy. I say put downs is something I put in there. Being unkind, jealousy. Yeah. Sometimes I have girls say talking behind my back. Yes, extreme anger, any kind of abuse, totally. Emotional, psychological, verbal, physical, sexual, being controlling, unsupportive, constantly control. Isn't it interesting how quickly we can come up with this unhealthy list? So much quicker than that healthy list. It's interesting. Yeah, constantly controlling, unsupportive. So sometimes I think of making me keep secrets. I would put in the unhealthy behavior side. So now if we were, not listening, totally. If we were to think about all of these healthy and unhealthy behaviors, let's look again at the community circle. So flip your paper over. And we want to make sure that the people in your community circle are healthy relationships. Over the years, I've had to think about some of my friendships, and I've realized that they might actually be unhealthy relationships. I wasn't really able to be myself when I was with this person. I didn't even have fun when I was with them. I might not have even felt safe. They definitely didn't listen to me. But it was so confusing because we were friends for a really long time. And I think that's something that we can start to think about. Looking at these supports, are they healthy relationships? When relationships get confusing, sometimes we need to talk to someone. So if we go one more slide, we're going to think of two people who you can count on to listen, support you, and keep the things that you share private. So looking at your community circle, so looking at all those names, see if you can circle or highlight two different people that will always listen and support you and keep whatever you share with them, keep that private. What might happen is that these names will change from year to year. They might even change from situation to situation. But what's really cool is that we don't have to do it on our own. We get to have all these different people supporting us. So let's put that paper aside, put down your pencils, and let's take a moment for our brains to settle from all the learning that we've been doing. So put your feet on the floor, sitting comfortably in your chair, closing your eyes, resting your hands, close your eyes or turn your gaze down. And I'm going to read a community mindful moment card to let our brains settle. Think of a friend who listens to you. How does that person make you feel? How can you tell that they are listening carefully to you? Now wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. You can blink your eyes open, take a deep breath in, sigh it out. Great. All right. So little mini Power of Me workshop on healthy relationships. When I teach this workshop, okay, just side note, kiddos, tweens, teens, kids can stay, or you can just send them off to play now. Okay, so we did our little workshop. It's up to them. But when I do teach this workshop, I typically would do more movement, lots more yoga calm to get our bodies and our minds ready for learning. I like to set the girls up in a circle with their yoga mats so that they can all see each other and be a part of the group. Sometimes it takes some help to get them there. They don't just, figure it out on their own. Someone might be far behind, and then we need to bring them in. I typically do this workshop in a 2-hour format so that we can get a good half hour of yoga calm, do some mindful snack, do a nice 10-minute relaxation at the end, and then there's plenty of time for the workshop with tons of discussion and more movement. When you get the lesson plan in the bonuses, you'll see there's a couple other extra movement activities that we would put in there. But this workshop could easily be transferred into like a 1-hour class. We would just do a little less movement, but still do that movement. And the relaxation would probably be a little bit shorter. No mindful snack. I mean, you could, but there needs to be enough time to have that discussion. But however it would be done to always do the calm, active calm. So we just did that in 15 minutes, and still followed the calm, active calm. We did the breath, one little pose. Our active part today was the activity, the movement, the discussion, the learning, and then the calm at the end, the 1-minute relaxation. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That was great. Any feedback in the chat box? Any comments or questions about the mini workshop? Again, we'll be doing the live Q&A in just a few minutes. While you're typing in the chat box, I know, Katie, that you use these. Let me go ahead and change my screen real quick. So I know that you use these glitter balls.
Yeah.
We try to use glitter balls, but a lot of times they're not available anymore in stores. So you can actually make these with your students or your kiddos. And it's just, how I make them is I just take the Voss water bottles, put distilled water, add some glycerin, add some glitter, and then use super glue for the lid so it can't come off. And so I know you were talking at the end about the brain settling. And do you want to talk a little bit about how you use these with your kiddos for Power of Me?
Yeah. Well, and I'm thinking that this is also a great tip for parents to I think our next slide is about tips for parents or teaching tweens, but that's a great visual to help figure out the brain. Because we talk about like all the sparkles and it's crazy and wild during puberty or at any time for anyone. And then when we stop moving, everything settles down. So we can watch the sparkles settle to the bottom, just like our brain. When we stop moving, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions slowly settle down. And it's helpful for the kids to see that and to get to that discussion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So very useful information. Enjoy observing the format of the workshop, and love that you make such a nurturing, warm, sharing format. It feels really safe. Yes. I agree.
And I think that is exactly it. That's one of the tips that I want to share is to create this safe space. But we'll talk. So I'll get to that in a minute about being safe, but just a couple of things for when you're teaching this age or parenting. Important to use that emotional communication. So practice listening without giving advice. So difficult. So difficult. And it's not common for people to just listen to girls at this age. Everyone wants to give them advice because they've been there. So let me help you so that you don't have to go through what I did. But the only way they're going to learn is if they figure it out on their own. And so what we do at our mother-daughter retreats is we practice emotional communication. We tell the moms that they need to listen, just listen. without giving any advice. And it's so funny. It's so hard for moms to do that. But in that workshop, in that retreat, what we'll hear is girls say things like, that's the first time that my mom ever listened to me. Or I felt like my mom was really listening. And there might even be tears at this time, because it is such an emotional time that, wow, mom's actually listening. That's pretty amazing. And not saying that when moms give advice or when teachers give advice, they're not listening. Of course they're listening, but tweens don't see it that way, which is interesting. But then it goes to the next one, the brain, because that's the way their brain is working. They are on that emotional side. They're not using the logic side. They use that emotional side, the right side of their brain. And so what we need to do is talk about what the left side is. Well, that's the logic side. And so we can talk about why they're feeling or acting the way that they're feeling or acting. And that is helpful for them. Sometimes I even talk about the upstairs and downstairs brain, and the downstairs brain being the place of the primitive place, like cavemen would be in this downstairs brain. And then the upstairs brain is where we get to practice being an adult. We get to practice making those decisions. And it might not always be right the first time, but that's where we get to practice that.
Yes, and the prefrontal cortex, we know, and the upstairs brain isn't developed until their 20s,
Right.
Which is why, I think for boys it's age 25 and girls is age 23. And I think insurance companies have realized this, and I believe men, when they turn 25 or 28, their insurance goes down because the prefrontal cortex is actually developed and they're making more rational decisions.
Yep.
So unfortunately it takes a little while for that upstairs brain to develop.
Right. Yeah. So then here's some tips for facilitating a group or a workshop with this age group. I would say establish the rules at the beginning of the workshop or at the beginning of a series of workshops. Sometimes I have the group that I'm working with, if we're working together for several times, I'll have them come up with the set of rules, because then if you go back to it and say, oh, remember we said in our group that we wanted to respect each other, or we said that there would be no laughing, then you can just keep referring to that. Sometimes if I'm just seeing a group once, I have my own rules. I want respect. I tell them all questions are okay. I even say have fun is one of the rules for me. But it's nice to be able to go back to that from establishing those in the beginning. So that then, as you know, as someone said, it feels safe. So providing the safe space for the girls to talk about. And I'm really thinking of the environment here. So thinking about if the door is wide open and all these people keep walking by the door, or if there's windows that people can see in, that's not a safe space for the girls. They feel like they're in a fishbowl and people can see them. And even if they can't hear them, they're still not feeling that safe space. So really important to create that, to make sure that they're having that. Same age groups is awesome. I do have a range, but it's important that it's not too wide. I might make the age range a little bit wider from 4th to 8th grade for the mother-daughter retreats. But when I'm just with the girls, I just have 2 or 3 age groups together. So like maybe 4th and 5th, or 6th, 7th, 8th. You know, if you're talking about puberty, if you have a 4th grader and an 8th grader, they're going to have totally different questions. And so you want to make sure that it's somewhat similar. I like to remind girls that they are trying out the tools that we are teaching. They don't have to like them all. And sometimes just by saying that, it helps them just try it. Rather than rolling their eyes or saying, oh, I don't like doing yoga. I don't like doing this. I don't like this. Well, okay, you don't need to like it all, but we're just trying these different things. And then hopefully one of the things we're going to do, you will actually like. And then I always like to have 2 adults in the room. If I can. It doesn't always work that way, but I found it to be so helpful in that if someone has a meltdown or starts crying about something and just needs to check in, then there's that other person, and it helps with making it safe. So they know that there's 2 different people that they can check in with. So that's really helpful.
Great. Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to go right into Q&A. I've seen a few different questions pop up in the Q&A box, so it'll just take me a minute to get this set. And let's see here. If you have a question, go ahead and start typing. And Katie, I'm going to ask you the first question. By the way, after we do this Q&A, we're going to go over the bonuses. We're going to give you a preview of next month's webinar and also show you the video. So we'll answer these first. It says, will participants have access to PowerPoint notes when workshop is over?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. You are getting a replay email tonight that has all the lessons, so the lesson plan from today, all the handouts that Katie talked about. The replay you can share with staff or others, and some other goodies in that.
And you'll actually get like this, you'll get the actual handout of that. And then like when we talked about the support people, you'll get that. So you can use those with your students. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And then another question we have here is, how do you respond if a kid can't identify inner circle relationship?
Mm-hmm.
This is their view, whether accurate or not. So maybe they're feeling like they really don't have an inner circle.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that's why we're doing this, so that they can find that. It's that inner circle, that's the hardest one. Some kids, they might not have parents at home, or they have super distant parents, right? They might not even have a roof over their head. So how do they actually have someone that supports them? And so for them, it might not be a parent. It might be a school counselor that's their inner circle, or a best friend, or maybe there's a mentor in the community center, or in our list of who's here, we have so many counselors and school psychologists and different people that help them in the school. Maybe you can actually help them to figure that out and find that person that can be their inner circle relationship. And maybe it's you. Yeah, I think there's a TED Talk about success, and they were saying that the number one predictor of success is just one solid connection. Mm-hmm. If they can even just list one person that's in their inner circle, whether it is the teacher or a parent or a friend, whoever, they are going to be more successful. So I'm so glad you're doing that activity, so they can, a lot of it is just acknowledging that the support is there, changing their perception. So the next question is, how can I facilitate this kind of program if I don't have a teacher's degree, but I am a yoga instructor? Any idea? Yeah, so you don't need a teacher's degree to do this. If you were to be teaching this in a class and the kids are getting actual credit for this, then you would definitely have to have a teaching degree to do this. But if you're a yoga instructor, that's great. During your yoga class, you can offer something like this. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. And I know that you're a yoga instructor, if you wanted just a few more tips and tricks to use, the Yoga Calm certification is great. You could do it online, and Yoga Calm is amazing because it goes through the social and emotional activities, the poses, all kinds. It's really the foundation of this whole Power of Me, right? You use so much of the Yoga Calm curriculum in there. Mm-hmm. So that might be another option. And we're going to go over in just a minute how you can get a discount on those trainings. Mm-hmm. But I want to get to the next question. Any suggestions on how to use the body book for girls that are resistant or embarrassed to talk or read about it?
Well, and it's so funny. So they talk a big talk. They say they don't want to read about it. They don't want to, but when you give them access and everyone's doing it, it blows my mind how they just they sink into this book, and it's pretty awesome. It's actually when we talk about puberty and that and stuff from the book, that's the workshop where the girls are actually the most engaged. They're so interested in learning about this. So it's embarrassing to talk about, super embarrassing to talk about, and just to read about, because it's not a normal thing that everyone's doing. But when we give them that opportunity and it's just the normal thing, everyone's doing it, it works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. The next question, what setting do you provide your workshops in? How do you promote these? So I guess, what is the facility? Is it like a yoga studio? Is it a gym? Where are you doing these works?
So I do all kinds of settings. So, and how to promote? Well, marketing is really hard. I do a lot of my workshops privately, and I rent space out of a local church. And so we use one of their empty rooms to do the workshops. Sometimes we'll go into schools, and we might be in a gym, we might be in a classroom. I do some of the work we do with Girl Scout groups or churches, and I go to their space. But I also have rented space at yoga studios to do some of the work. But there's always an additional cost, and that's a hard piece. And promoting them, that's hard. Getting the word out. So my favorite piece the easiest way to do this is to go into groups that are already put together. So I go into churches or Girl Scout groups or schools, and that's worked out the best. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What is your biggest challenge in doing these workshops, and what is one of your success stories?
Mm-hmm. Well, challenge, I would say marketing is the hardest, like finding the girls. And I have tried doing this with high school girls. Doesn't work. They're so busy. They are so busy. So hitting this tween time is perfect. But still, kids are so busy. So I think that has been one of the most biggest challenges for me in doing the workshops. What is one of your success stories? Honestly, it's so awesome. But I did get I got a message from a parent saying, my daughter just got her period, and thanks to you, Katie, she was so prepared and knew exactly what to expect. And that made me feel really, really awesome. Mm-hmm. So it feels good.
Yes. Great. Okay. The next question is, we're getting a lot of questions coming in. What rules are most important to establish for this workshop? Maybe just your top one or two.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we get to all of these questions.
Yeah. So I use 4 rules. Respect yourself and others. So really important, we respect ourselves. All questions are okay. Take positive risks. Really important. We say that positive piece. And then to have fun. Those are the ones that I use.
Great.
And each girl a copy of the book. And set them up with a notebook. Yes. Yep. So they all part of the Power of Me program is they get a copy of the book. A lot of them already have it, and then either journals or sometimes I have a workbook that I use to keep it all together.
And after school programming, do you ever do this as an after school program?
Totally. Yep. It's a perfect one because they're already together. The school can pay you. After school programming has worked really well.
And do I have to go through the 200 hours with Yoga Calm program? Is there a complement? I already own the Yoga Calm book. So 200 hours is for the RYT adult yoga program that Jim runs out of Portland. But you can just do the Yoga Calm training, and that's just a 3-day, well, depending on how many, the full Yoga Calm training is the 3-day training. It's an intensive, and it's half online, half in person, or you can do the whole thing online. So it's not 200 hours. That's the yoga training, which is much more intense if you wanted to be an adult yoga teacher. Mm-hmm. And we'll send you some info on that. Mm-hmm. Do you do a full series class? How many weeks with the same group?
So my favorite thing is to do that series. And so right now I'm in a monthly program. So the girls meet from September to May once a month, one Sunday or one Saturday a month through the whole school year. So 9 different workshop topics.
And how much do you charge for your workshops and series of classes? So
it depends. So in the monthly workshop, if a girl's going to sign up for one workshop, it's $40 for the 2-hour workshop. Or if they do the membership program, then it's $29 a month, and that includes. So then it's like an auto pay throughout the whole year, $29, and they get the book and the workbook and everything as a part of that.
And how do you structure your fees?
Yeah. So I use the program called Mind Body. But it's not perfect. I think that is the most complicated piece of all this, is the marketing and then the fees and all of that. Mhm.
And I do see a couple questions in the chat box. So does it help if the girls know each other and are at the same school, or does that not really matter?
It's, you know what? It's fun both ways. I love it when they know each other and to like go into a program and do that, because then they're developing these skills at a whole different level. But sometimes they just need to meet other girls from other places, and they can get a lot out of it, which is pretty cool.
And what rules? We just covered that. And then what book are you using for boys?
So that's right. I haven't found the best one yet. I'm still looking around. So if anyone has suggestions, but we did just, you know, what I've done is I've pulled in a Tai Chi instructor to help with the Power of Me for boys. And we're sort of using the whole like Jedi piece. So we're trying to find the balance between the dark side and the Jedi. So balancing that emotion. And so I haven't found the right book yet. There's a lot of really great books yet out there, but I haven't quite figured it out yet.
And you're still doing the yoga and the mindful snack and all of that with the boys.
Yep. Same format for the boys. More Tai Chi than yoga, though.
Okay.
Yep. Which they really get into because of the whole Kung Fu piece.
Yes. Okay. Well, thanks for all your questions. We're going to check the chat box one last time before we go. So we'll see if there's any more questions. But I want to make sure that you know about these fantastic bonuses before we head on out. So bonus number 1 today is you are going to get the lesson plan and all the handouts from today's webinar, and you'll get that in the email that we've been talking about later tonight. And bonus number 2, I know some of you were interested in the Yoga Calm trainings. And so here's a code for you. If you type in this code, whether you want to register for a training in Minnesota or in Washington or in Oregon, just head on over to the yogacalm.org website and you can type in this code. You'll get 10% off. And like I said, you can also do this whole training online, and you do get CEUs, college credits, and clock hours. So for the 3-day, we give 36 clock hours, which I know is great for educators trying to keep their certificate up and going. That does expire though on March 12th. So we give you 2 weeks. And make sure to type in POME as the promo code. The third bonus, many of you want the slides from this presentation. So you want to remember what we talked about. Maybe you don't want to watch the whole webinar again. So we're going to email you the slides from this webinar. If you have 2 different options. Either like our Facebooks on, so the Yoga Calm Facebook, Mad Hatter Wellness, and Generation Wellness on Facebook, and just send us a quick email. You can just respond to the email we send tonight. Say, hey, I liked your Facebook pages, and we'll send you the slides. Or you can just email us a couple sentences about what you liked, or maybe something that you learned from this webinar, and we might use that testimonial on our future webinar pages where people register, just so people can see that there is value in these. So those are the 2 options, and that has to be done within 24 hours. So just like those pages or send us an email. In the email that I send tonight, all of this is going to be in there. So don't worry if it's confusing. If you're not getting it all right now, it'll all be in that email tonight. The next thing is, if you want to get a breathing ball, if you want to buy a chime, if you want to buy anything for your classroom or your counseling setting, there is a website. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called donorschoose.org. And this is one of our teachers who attended a webinar a couple months ago. She made this Stop and Breathe Mindfulness for Self-Regulation page, and she was requesting $421. And within not even a week, she received money from 9 different donors who saw her page, and she was able to buy the Yoga Calm book, buy the chime, buy the breathing ball. So check that site out if you're wanting to get supplies, but you don't want to use your own money. So that's a great resource. And I wanted to mention our next webinar is in 1 month from today, and we are going to be having Dr. Cree Dye. She's a professor at Western Kentucky University, and she uses mindfulness and yoga in her classes that she teaches. So she's going to be going over a heart and mind and body approach to college and career readiness. So that's our next one, and we'll send you the link if you're interested in that. But really cool that she's using this with 18 to 30-year-olds in college. Okay, before I check out this video, I just want to see if we have any other things in the chat box. Thanks for the inspiration. This was great. Thank you for all the information. Yes, thank you so much for attending. We are going to show the quick 2-minute video of the power of me, and then we'll come back on and say our final farewell and go ahead and say goodbye, which I never want to do. So Katie, it's going to take me just a minute to get this up and going. Let's see. Just one sec. Okay, here we go. Actually. All right, and this is just the 2-minute clip of what the workshop is about, in case you missed it.
The Power of Me is a program for girls right now in grades 4 through 8, and it's a program of workshops, yoga classes, all about empowering the girls' inner spirit and building up their self-esteem.
It's really fun and everyone respects each other.
Each month that we meet, we have a different focus for the class. We move and we play together and we do partner activities and group activities.
Yoga's really fun. If I'm like having a bad day or something and I do some yoga, it makes me feel better.
We talk about stress management. We talk about the different emotions that we have going through puberty. Body image, that's a big one for the girls.
They have a lot of things going on with the different relationships in their lives, friendships maybe changing at this time.
And what to do to express all of these emotions in a healthy way without hurting ourselves and without hurting the people around us.
If something's on your mind and you don't want to talk to your mom or your dad, you can either talk to Katie or the other kids. If you're going through something, there are other girls that are going through the same thing as you, and you don't have to be afraid.
My favorite part about teaching at the Power of Me is the opportunity to just connect with the girls and give them a space to be who they are.
I learned how to speak my feelings in front of people that I don't really know very well.
I've learned to make new friends.
I've learned how to be strong and confident.
Putting out stronger girls and empowered girls into the world will ultimately lower the statistic for sexual assault.
I love the power of me. I love power of me. I love power of me.
Jazz hands. Oh, that is so great. Okay.
There were a couple other questions that came up, Lindsay. I don't know if I should just answer by messaging.
Yeah, no, you can go ahead and read them.
Okay, so one was, how do you approach schools or groups or wellness places with offering a workshop? And so that's the thing, is just sending tons of emails, making lots of calls, connecting with people. I just started connecting with people that I already knew. So people, parents, or therapists or principals that I knew. And that's how I got into programs with churches, like connecting with like my cousin. I went into her church and taught a group. But that's how, and then once the word gets out, then it got a little bit easier. And then, is the Power of Me binder or manual available for purchase? So it's in the process. I really want this. It's complicated, but that's the direction I would love to go, so that everyone could be doing this. So keep in touch, please. Yeah.
It's coming soon.
It's coming. We're getting there.
Okay, perfect. Well, one last look in here. Some people are saying, this was great. Thank you for the information. Thank you. Love the interactive nature of your webinar. Thank you from Parker and Alicia. Do you know Parker and Alicia, Katie?
I don't.
You must.
No, I'm not sure.
Thanks. This is important work. Loved how the mini lesson was put together. Very thoughtful and purposeful. What great resources. Thanks for being a catalyst for bringing mindfulness to my students. Thank you. Paula, I hope you're still here. I just remember, I saw your name and it said school counselor in Bellingham. You attended the summer intensive, I think, a year or two ago. So I just wanted to say, hey, Paula, I miss you. Such great work. Thank you so much. What if a girl shares that she's being abused? How do we handle this?
Yeah, so I think that's more than a 20-second answer, but it's handling it very calmly, taking a breath, saying, wow, I'm really glad that you told me. I hear you. I believe you, letting them know that. And then not just pushing it away and continuing to talk with her. It might happen. And so I'd suggest signing up for the Parent Summit on how to talk to your kids about sex, because there are going to be a lot of different speakers that talk about how to handle stuff like that. So maybe Lindsay can send out that link as well in a follow-up email.
Yep, I'll be sure to send that out. And then, excellent. I really appreciate the affordability of your webinar. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. So helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
all right, Katie. Well, you did a fabulous job. Thanks so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us. And it's just been a joy to work with you. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Great to be here.
Yes, and to all of you out there, I just want to say again, thank you so much for everything that you're doing, whether you're a parent, a counselor, a teacher, a yoga teacher, whatever you do, just you being you is amazing. Let's keep on spreading the love and getting this stuff out there, because our kids need this more than ever. So thank you so much for everything that you do. And Jim, I hope that you've copied everything that you need to copy in the chat box, and we're good to go. So we are going to be signing off. I just see a few more comments. See you all next month. Yay! Awesome. Gabriella's coming to our next webinar, and you can already register for it. Like I said, I'll put it in the links. So we're good to go. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.
See you all next month. All right. Bye-bye.